Hi, I'm Mike, founder of GoodBed. Today we're going to give you our in-depth review of the Serta Perfect Sleeper X Lexton Medium Pillow Top Mattress. Now, before I get into the specifics of this mattress, I want to give you a quick overview of all the resources that we have for you related to this Perfect Sleeper X collection. For one thing, we have done an overview video of the entire collection, which includes both the quilted part of the collection, which this Lexton model is part of, as well as the hybrid part of the collection. And in total, there's about 15 to 20 different models in that collection. We covered the characteristics they all have in common, as well as what characteristics and components get added as you move up through that collection. The second resource we have for you is our website, where we covered each of the 15 to 20 different models individually with assessments of all their different characteristics. And the third reference is going to be this video here. In this case, what we've done is we've taken one of their most popular models that we believe is also representative of the collection more generally, and we have pulled it into our lab where we have done scientific testing on this mattress. So if you're interested in any of the Perfect Sleeper X mattresses, I'd highly recommend taking advantage of all three of these resources. First, our website where you can get our specific assessments of that model. Secondly, this video where you can find out more context about how we made those assessments, as well as just understand how Perfect Sleeper X mattresses perform in our scientific testing. And then thirdly, to our overview video where you can get a sense of how that particular model fits into the broader Perfect Sleeper X collection. Now, in case you've never seen one of our videos before, the very first thing you need to know about any mattress is that mattresses are highly personal. This means the best mattress for me can be very different from the best mattress for you, and there is no such thing as the best mattress or even best mattress for side sleepers or anything like that. So in fact, if you see any website that has a list of the best mattresses for side sleepers, that is a fake mattress information website. That's not a real mattress expert providing that information. It's clickbait. The right way to think about mattresses is in terms of what we call the 3 Fs: fit, feel, and features. Fit are the characteristics of a mattress that can be better or worse, but are going to vary depending on your weight, body shape, sleep position, and other personal characteristics. So each mattress is going to perform differently in its fit for different people. Feel are the characteristics of a mattress that cannot be universally better or worse. They can only be better or worse for your personal preferences. And features are the characteristics that can be better or worse, but may or may not be a priority for you personally. So that is how we do all of our testing here at GoodBed, as well as how we structure all of our reviews. So let's start with fit, which is really the most important of the 3 Fs, since it determines to what degree you're going to get the two things that everybody has to get from their mattress, which are proper spinal alignment and adequate pressure relief. Now, in terms of the Lexton Medium Pillow Top, we looked at this for back sleepers, side sleepers, stomach sleepers of different weights. Overall, we found this to be probably the best fit, this particular model, for back sleepers. Very good for back sleepers, really of all weights. As you get heavier, I think the zoning that they provide in this coil unit, this is a 5-zoned coil unit, basically with stronger reinforced coil zones that fit right underneath your lumbar. So no matter which way you rotate the mattress, you're going to have one of those reinforced coil zones right underneath your lumbar, and the heavier you are, the more of a role that's going to play in keeping your spinal alignment neutral, particularly in your back position, or for that matter, in your side position. Now, turning to side sleepers, we also found the spinal alignment here to be good for all side sleepers, really across all weight ranges. Again, as you get heavier, the zoning of the coil unit is going to play more of a role in helping keep that neutral alignment in your side sleeping position, allowing your hips to sink in a little deeper, but still supporting your waist while you're in that side sleeping position, as well as allowing your shoulders to sink in a little bit deeper in that shoulder zone. So side sleeping alignment, good. Now for stomach sleepers, we found probably the biggest variation based on weight. For lighter stomach sleepers, we found the spinal alignment here to still be very good on account of the fact that this is a relatively firmer surface here, and we thought that there was enough supportiveness there to keep your heaviest part of your body, which is for all of us our hips, well supported for those lighter stomach sleepers. For heavier stomach sleepers, and I'm talking about, say, folks over 250 pounds, in general, I don't tend to recommend mattresses that have 3 inches of memory foam like this one does. And in general, the zoning here is not really going to help that much for a stomach sleeper, especially a heavier stomach sleeper. So I would probably say that it still works pretty good from a spinal alignment standpoint for someone in that weight range as a stomach sleeper, on account of the fact that it is relatively firm and therefore is going to be relatively supportive. However, you may want to look at a mattress that doesn't have quite as much memory foam, and even within this collection, you probably want to look at mattresses that maybe aren't a pillow top and maybe have a little bit more firmness if you are a heavier stomach sleeper. Now, in terms of pressure relief, really first and foremost, this is going to be an issue for side sleepers. That's the position in which your body's weight is distributed over the smallest surface area. If you're a back or stomach sleeper, the pressure relief here is going to be more than adequate. Now, if you're a side sleeper, overall we'd say that the pressure relief here was good on this particular model. Now, there are probably better models we know there are better models for pressure relief specifically within the Perfect Sleeper X collection if this is a big priority for you, because there are models with more softness and more cushioning than this particular model, which has a rather tight quilt pattern. Nonetheless, we found that overall, across most of the weight ranges, the pressure relief here was still good. I think probably for lighter side sleepers in particular, you might want to think about moving to a softer model to get a little bit more pressure relief. Now, for like average and heavier sleepers, I'm talking about really anyone over 150 pounds. I think the heavier you get, the more you're going to probably be able to take advantage of that memory foam that's below the quilt. You've got 3 inches of memory foam here right below the quilt. That's going to be the principal pressure relieving material here. And so the heavier you are, the more you're going to kind of sink through this rather tight quilt pattern surface here and be able to kind of benefit from that memory foam from a pressure relief standpoint. So you might even find, relative to lighter side sleepers, the pressure relief is a little bit better for you in that case. All right, so now we're going to move on to the second of the 3 F's, which is feel. And again, these are the things that cannot be universally better or worse. They can only be better or worse for your personal preferences. And the first of these is softness. And in the case of the Lexton Medium Pillow Top, we would classify this as a medium firm. We have a 1 through 9 softness scale. 9 is the softest, 1 is the firmest. We put this one at about a 4. And frankly, it's a little bit on the low side of 4. It's kind of on the firmer side of that 4 classification, but it's not quite what we would call a firm, so we call it a medium firm. The overall, the pillow top here, the quilting is pretty tight patterned, and that kind of does firm it up a little bit. And the memory foam layer directly below that quilt is also on the firmer side. So it just overall gives the mattress a little bit more firmness than you might expect from a medium pillow top. The second feel characteristic is what we call cushioning depth. Now, this is a distinct characteristic from softness. It is what defines the experience of either sleeping in your mattress, which is being kind of hugged or cradled by it, versus sleeping on your mattress, which is the sensation of kind of floating above your mattress while you're sleeping. And this is really right down the middle. It's kind of a cross between the two, a little bit of both, you could think of it. You are going to get a little hugged or cradled sensation, particularly in your hips area on the count of that 5-zone coil unit, but at the same time, you're not going to sink too far into this mattress, and that's why we put it really right in the middle of the cushioning depth spectrum. The third characteristic is memory feel, and there are 3 inches of memory foam in this mattress, but a couple things to know about it. Number one, the memory foam here, particularly the top layer of memory foam, is a bit on the firmer side. And so that means it's going to have take a little longer to respond to your body. And the second thing you need to know about it is that memory foam doesn't start until you get below the quilt layer. So the quilt foam is not memory foam, and you have 2¼ inches of quilt foam here above this memory foam, which is going to a little bit mask the memory feel. So you're not going to get, it's not going to be as obvious, it's not as memory feel forward, for example, as say the mattresses in the hybrid part of the Perfect Sleeper X collection. So where in that part of the collection, the memory foam is right up on top below a stretch cover. So you're going to feel it more, it's going to be more obvious. Here it's a little bit more subtle. And as a result, where we would put the memory feel in this mattress is kind of right in the middle of our spectrum, kind of in line with what we would consider to be the average amount of memory feel in a mattress today, recognizing that memory foam is a very common component and that most mattresses contain some amount of memory foam. So this one, if you're worried about this, a memory foam mattress having too much memory feel or feeling like quicksand, I think this is an option for you that is not going to provide a concern for you on that front. And the final characteristic in the feel section of this video is going to be bounce. And this is, again, a preference-based characteristic. There is no better or worse. It's an interesting case here because this is a spring mattress, of course, 1,000+ coil density in this unit. However, it does have 3 inches of memory foam up on top, as well as just in general about 5+ inches of foam on top of the spring unit. which provides a lot of shock absorption, kind of offsetting the bounce from those coils. And there's really not a lot of bounce at the surface of this mattress. We look at bounce kind of up at the surface, more of as well as a mid-level bounce that we test with a bowling ball. And then we also look at a deep bounce that we test, like replicating what it would feel to kind of just jump into bed. And really, the most bounce we would probably experience here would be at that deep level where you're going to really activate those springs. But even there, the memory foam here and the foam on top of those coils does enough to absorb shock that, on balance, we'd say that this mattress really has about kind of an average amount of bounce and relatively less bounce than most other spring mattresses. All right, so now we're going to move on to the third and final of the 3 F's, which are features. And these, again, are the things that can be better or worse, however, may or may not be a priority for you personally. As a perfect example of this, the first one of these is motion isolation, which is the extent to which someone on one side of the bed is going to feel or be disturbed by motion or activity on the other side of the bed. Obviously, that's not going to be an issue for everyone. Not everyone even has a partner or is easily disturbed by things such as that. But nonetheless, we tested this in our lab, and we dropped a lot of heavy objects on this mattress to really try to figure out how much activity is registered on the other side of the mattress, and overall found the motion isolation here to be exceptional. The memory foam that we described earlier does a really great job absorbing a lot of that motion and absorbing a lot of the activity, as well as the pocketed spring unit, which really moves independently. It does not have a scrim sheet that is glued to it the way a lot of times pocketed spring units do. So that can be, one thing about a pocketed spring unit that maybe makes it better or worse from a motion isolation standpoint. In this case, it works out better in this area because of that. So overall, even when, just to use a real world example, when I put my entire weight down on the mattress, you'll see it was not really enough to meaningfully move a bowling pin on the other side of the mattress. So in every test that we performed, this mattress had exceptional motion isolation. The next feature we tested is cooling. Now, this can be important to anyone who has a tendency to sleep hot during the night, and it is certainly something you're going to hear a lot about in the marketing from both mattress manufacturers and retailers these days. We test heat very rigorously, both from the standpoint of just the temperature and how much heat is going to be experienced by your body over a period of 8 hours during the night, as well as moisture and how much moisture can be absorbed and dissipated into the mattress during the night, because that can also essentially be experienced as heat by a sleeper if your mattress tends to trap moisture near your body. So we look at both of those factors, and this is a mattress, I should add, that has a couple of features that they tout for cooling, one of which is phase change material up in the cover of the mattress, which is designed to provide some initial coolness. And then there's also some graphite infused memory foam down in the transition layer of the mattress. Graphite, being a conductor, is meant to help heat flow more effectively away from your body. With regards to the phase change material, where you're going to observe that in the data to the extent that it has a meaningful effect is going to be in the first 10 minutes or so. So we found in this case that the phase change material here was not didn't have a material effect in terms of those first 10 minutes. I think the way I would think of that for you as a sleeper is that some of the mattresses that use phase change material, you almost feel cold when you lie down on the mattress in those first 10 minutes. And if you're looking for that, you're probably not going to get that cold feeling on this mattress. There just really isn't enough phase change material to deliver that. But for a lot of people, that's not really what they're looking for in the first place. And so I would say that this one is not one that you have to worry about feeling cold on this mattress based on the amount of phase change material that is used here. As it relates to the overall cooling, what we found is that mattresses there are a few outliers on either side, but by and large, there's a sort of central mass of products that tend to perform pretty similarly. And I would say that this mattress is kind of right in the peak of that bell curve, if you will. And I guess I would think of that perhaps as a positive in this case because of the fact that this is a mattress that has 3 inches of memory foam in it. And memory foam is often hung out there as kind of the chief culprit for heat retention. So the fact that this mattress is able to perform kind of right as in the standard range of mattresses, even in spite of the fact that it has 3 inches of memory foam, can be viewed as a positive. But nonetheless, irrespective of all of that, we would rate the cooling capabilities of this mattress as good. The next characteristic we test here in the features category is edge support. Now, this is something that is both relevant from the standpoint of people who like to sit on the edge of the bed, as I'm doing right now, whether sitting to get dressed or tie your shoes or watch TV or whatever, but also for people who just, want to maximize the usable surface area of their mattress, being able to sleep up near the edge. So we tested both sitting and lying down, and most cases a mattress will do better in the lying down than it will in the sitting, because the edge is obviously having to absorb a lot more concentrated weight when I'm sitting on the edge versus when I'm lying on the edge. In this case, we actually found that the mattress did even better in the sitting position than in the edge position. Overall, the edge support here is excellent. And what we found is that the only thing that kind of prevented it from being even higher in the lying down position was the fact that because of this pillow top design has so much foam up at the top in the quilt, there's a little bit of lean just while you're on the edge, but it's not a reflection of a weak edge. It's just a reflection of the kind of crowning effect of the pillow top design. So all in all, we think across this entire line, because the edge support is going to be consistent, the feature set that delivers edge support is going to be consistent across all the mattresses in the Perfect Sleeper X collection, we think that we can say confidently the whole collection has excellent edge support. One quick factor that can be a concern for some people, particularly with regards to mattresses that have memory foam like this one, is the ease of repositioning. And as I mentioned earlier, really relative to most other mattresses that have memory foam in them, ease of repositioning is not going to be an issue for you on this mattress. The next feature we look at is the use of natural materials in the mattress, which in the case of this mattress or anyone like it that doesn't make any claims about using natural materials, really this translates more into the lack of harmful chemicals, and because that can be a concern for far more people in the first place. And in this case, what I can tell you is that all of the foams used in this mattress are certified to the Serta Pure standard, which is essentially a standard that looks for the presence of and off-gassing of various harmful materials and certifies that neither are present beyond some minimally insignificant threshold. And so basically all the foams used in this mattress are certified to that standard, and I think that is something that in this area can give you a lot of additional comfort. The next characteristic we look at is adjustable base compatibility, which is something that more and more of our readers are asking us about. And first and foremost, this mattress is compatible with use on an adjustable base. So meaning you can use it, it's designed to be bent and flexed accordingly, and it certainly will not in any way invalidate your warranty to use this mattress on an adjustable base. That being said, we don't think of adjustable base compatibility as strictly a binary thing. There are some mattresses that can kind of perform better or worse when used on an adjustable base. And we really put mattresses to a rigorous standard when we evaluate them in this regard to sort of see like what are the limits of this mattress when used on an adjustable base. In this case, I would say that overall adjustable base compatibility here is good. It's not the best, perhaps. The reason it's not the best is that this mattress, it's due to the rigidity of the foams and just the mattress overall, it doesn't necessarily conform, at least not out of the box, as well to the curves of the adjustable base as some mattresses do. And also, it has a relatively thick quilt layer that is also, relatively firmly quilted. As a result, sometimes when we see mattresses that have that, there is some bunching when you particularly elevate both the foot and the head fully at the same time. It can create some bunching of that quilting in the valley. When you're lying on the mattress, you don't perceive this, it's not uncomfortable, it's really not a problem. But that being said, there is a distinction maybe between some mattresses on that level. So that's why we would say that on balance, this particular model has good adjustable base compatibility, but within the overall Perfect Sleeper X collection, I would say that the smooth hybrid models have even better adjustable base compatibility. The last feature I want to touch on is durability, because I know this is something that's very important to most mattress shoppers. And if you've watched videos of ours in the past, this is something that we've had to assess in a relatively indirect way. And we've done so based on what we know about the materials in the mattress, their densities and so forth, as well as the construction type of the mattress, and basically what we know about how those materials and construction tend to hold up over time. Frankly, we have progressed leaps and bounds beyond that at this point. We can now simulate 10 years of actual use of the mattress and really accurately measure how the firmness loss and height loss of the mattress will change at various key increments along that journey. So after, what can you expect to happen within the first few months, within the first year, within the first few years, and all the way up to 10 years. Now, obviously, that involves completely destroying the mattress. So we've clearly not done it yet. And in fact, we are not going to show you that in this video. However, we are going to be doing that as soon as we're done filming this video. We will be destroying this mattress in exactly that way. And by the time you're watching this video, we should have the results of those tests, and you can find them in the written version of this review, which will be linked to in the description of this video. So if this is something that's important to you, I'd highly recommend clicking the link to see that review, and you'll find that data there. Now, moving on to 3 things that are going to be important to really any mattress shopper, but particularly anyone who may be considering buying this mattress online, are delivery, return policy, and warranty. Let's start with warranty because that's going to be the same no matter where you buy this product. The warranty on this mattress is a 10-year non-prorated warranty. Just as a quick reminder, non-prorated is better than prorated. It basically means if any time during that 10 years something goes wrong, you're going to be having a new mattress without cost associated to you. The other important characteristic or aspect of any mattress warranty that we always talk about is what they define to be an allowable body impression. In this case, it is 1.5 inches, which is essentially the industry standard. Now, in terms of delivery and return policy, these are going to depend entirely on where you buy this mattress, from whom you buy this mattress. This is a mattress that you may find in a local retailer. However, you can also buy it directly from Serta through their website. If you were to buy it directly from Serta, I can tell you what those return policy and delivery policies will be. The return policy will be you have 120 days to sleep on this mattress. And if at any point during that time you decide you don't like it, you can return it for a full refund. So no return fees associated with returning this mattress if you buy it directly from Serta's website. And in terms of delivery, Serta offers free delivery when you buy from their website. And I should mention also one other thing that's going to be true no matter where you buy this mattress is that this is not a mattress that gets roll packed. You may know that other online mattresses, it's very common for them to be folded, compressed, and then rolled up like a burrito before they ship them. And then they get dropped off on your doorstep by FedEx or UPS commonly. This mattress is not going to be shipped that way. It's not going to be compressed or rolled up at all. It is going to be shipped in a mattress-sized box. And generally speaking, that crew will come into your house, they will bring it all the way to your bedroom, and they'll even remove your old mattress for you as part of the service. All of that, again, when you buy directly from Serta's website, is included as a free service with this mattress. All right, so now we're going to take a peek at what's actually inside a Lexton Medium Pillow Top mattress. And overall, Serta lists this at 14.25 inches, and we measured ours to at least that, if not a quarter inch more than that, at 14.5 total inches. So it certainly fits the bill on that front. And then within or inside this mattress, you're going to have, depending on how you think about it, somewhere between 5 and 7 total layers. We would think of it as 5 because I tend to think of the quilt package as sort of one functional layer, even though in this case there are actually 3 separate materials and thereby 3 separate layers sort of within the quilt package. So let's start there. Within this quilt package you have the top, at the very top, you have something called Perfect Pure Fiber, which is essentially like a polyfiber fill, which is really just there to give a little added breathability, a little bit of loft, a little bit of additional softness. And then below that you've got 2 layers of foam that they call Pillow Soft foam. 1.25 inches of what they call Pillow Soft HD, and then 1 inch of Pillow Soft regular foam. This is just going to be like a soft quilt foam, kind of just a traditional soft quilt foam. And by the way, those heights are pretty much the compressed heights. So when you create a quilt package, you're essentially taking foam and you're putting it between 2 pieces of fabric, and then you're sewing that fabric together at these various stitching points. And depending on how many of those stitches you put on the top of the mattress, it will kind of change the overall amount of billowiness and therefore the overall amount of quilting softness that the quilt package adds. So the quilting, or the sewing pattern here, there's a fair amount of the sewn stitches across the surface of the mattress. So this is not, this is kind of a medium to firmer quilt sewing pattern here. But nonetheless, there's a pretty decent amount of quilt foam here. So at least at the peaks of these kind of between these stitches, you do get the full 2¼ inches, even with the compression that happens inside the quilt package. So that's gonna be the top of the mattress here. And then right below that is gonna be your primary comfort material, what we would consider to be your primary comfort material, which is what Serta calls the Cool Twist Gel Memory Foam. This is a gel memory foam that they've been using for at least several years now. And this is a firmer formulation of memory foam. It's definitely got some firmness to it. It also, of course, has that really slow responsiveness, slow delayed recovery that memory foam is famous for. It's of course going to be there for pressure relief and conformance and offering those types of properties as well. So this is going to be a really pivotal to the overall feel of the mattress, because there is 2 inches of it and it is right below the quilt package. And then below that you're going to have a layer that I would say is functioning as more of a transition layer, which is what they call the Perfect Conform Memory Foam. And if you saw our overview video of the entire Perfect Sleeper X collection, you can see we had a nice big chunk of it that we can kind of show you and give it a little bit more context around its properties. But a couple things to note about it. Certainly it is memory foam. It's going to have some of that same delayed responsiveness, delayed recovery, pressure relieving, conforming properties that we talked about with the Cool Twist memory foam. And this foam is also graphite infused, which, as we talked about, is also part of the cooling capabilities of this mattress, because graphite, somewhat like gel in the layer above, is a conductor and therefore can help heat travel more effectively through this layer of the mattress. So that's kind of the transition layer of this mattress. And this is, as transition layers go, I might add, kind of a softer memory foam. So it's definitely allowing for more conformance than some transition layers might. And then below that Perfect Conform memory foam, you are going to have the support core. And this is going to be essentially a 9-inch support core consisting of 2 layers. Mainly it's the 8-inch pocketed coil unit. This is going to be 1,000+ coil density in a queen size, which basically means that if the coils went edge to edge, there'd be 1,000 and a little bit more than 1,000 of them in a queen size mattress. However, you can see here, the coils don't go to the edge because what you have here is a foam perimeter. So this is essentially a 4-inch rail of very firm foam going around the perimeter that gives the mattress a nice strong edge on all 4 sides. At the very bottom, you also have 1 inch of foam just for the coils to have something firm to rest on. That's very common in mattress design. So that's how you get to a total of 9 inches in your support core. The 1-inch base plus the 8-inch pocketed coil unit, and obviously the 8-inch foam rail just goes alongside the coils. And then just the last thing I'll mention or reiterate really about this coil unit is of course a zoned coil unit. It's got 5 zones. We talked about that earlier in terms of the benefits of it, but I just wanted to make sure we mentioned it here as well. So that's really the kind of inside, the guts of the Perfect Sleeper Lexton Medium Pillow Top mattress. The outside you can obviously see here. This is a well-constructed mattress. They've got this nice solid tape edge. This actually took quite a bit of effort to even cut it open the way we did here. And you got a sort of a double tape edge to create this sort of faux Euro top situation, but that gives it not only a nice look, but also a nice solid feel to it as well. I like this side panel and cover design personally. I think it's got a really nice attractive aesthetic to it. And then just the last thing I'll mention about this cover material is that it does use phase change material, sometimes abbreviated as PCM. Basically, if you don't already know, phase change material is essentially microscopic wax beads that when the heat from your body reaches them, change phases from a solid to a liquid. And that essentially, that change of phases creates the perception of coolness to your body. You feel that as coolness, as something below you is changing phases. This is not one, we do test mattresses that have phase change material quite often and used in different ways. This one does not have that icy cool feel that some of them have. It's more subtle. So if you're worried about it feeling too cool, I don't think you really need to be concerned about that in this particular case. And then the last thing I'll mention about just the outside of this mattress in general, you do have on both sides, you have 2 really nice handles. They even have a little bit of velvety texture to them. It's very well done aesthetically and functionally for moving around your mattress. Before we wrap this up, I want to give you just my take on this mattress. And let's start with some things I discussed in the fit section. As I mentioned, this is probably not an ideal fit for a heavier stomach sleeper, someone over 250 pounds, for example. That's on account of the fact that this is a mattress that has 3 inches of memory foam. And if anything, this is probably better than other mattresses that meet that characteristic in this regard. But nonetheless, I would probably not recommend it for heavier stomach sleepers. And likewise, it may not be ideal for a lighter side sleeper from a pressure relief standpoint. But that being said, I think for both of those types of sleepers, there are other options within the Perfect Sleeper X collection that would be a better fit for them. And for those who are kind of in the middle, I would say this tends to be a good option. This tends to be pretty middle of the road for all of our feel characteristics. It was on the firmer side of medium from a softness standpoint, but right in the middle in cushioning depth, right in the middle in memory feel, right in the middle of bounce. So to the extent that you're wanting something that is not too extreme in any of those areas, this is obviously going to be an ideal fit, this particular model, in that way. One of the things I didn't really love about the construction of the mattress, just the way it's designed, I don't love the fact that the transition layer is a little softer than the upper layers of foam. Well, at least softer than the primary comfort material here, the Cool Twist gel memory foam that is above it. I like generally mattresses that are designed with a little more progressive firmness, but that's a really small, nerdy quibble. What I do like about the way this mattress is designed is really everything about the support layer of the mattress. Starting with the edge support, we talked about how excellent the edge support is here, and also the coil unit. So the coil unit feels very sturdy to me, has a lot of firm support, and I like the zoning. The zoning that they did here, I think is definitely going to be helpful for conformance. It's going to be helpful for supporting the lumbar or your waist if you're on your side. And so I think that that is a really nice addition that they've given to this Perfect Sleeper X collection. And a couple other things I like. I like the motion isolation, which is, as we mentioned, excellent. And as I mentioned, I do like the aesthetic of this mattress. This is obviously purely subjective, but I do think that this is a nice looking and well-constructed mattress. So there you have it. I hope you found this to be a helpful review of the Lexton Medium Pillow Top mattress from Serta's Perfect Sleeper X collection. Before you go though, let me give you a few helpful resources for you to use as next steps, all of which will be linked to from the description of this video. Number one is the full written version of this review, which is going to contain more detail about our assessments, including our full durability assessments and results. The second thing I would refer you to is the side-by-side comparison tool on our website, which is something you can use to not only easily see at a glance all of the assessments that we made about this mattress, but you can put it up against any of the other mattresses in the Perfect Sleeper X collection, as well as, for that matter, any other mattresses that you may be considering. And the third thing would just be our overview video of the Perfect Sleeper X collection, which is going to give you a little broader context on what else is available in the Perfect Sleeper X collection, as well as some more detail on some of the specific components and construction that is used in this collection. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and we really hope you sleep well.